Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome along to our weekly takeover of the interwebs. My name's James Ivy.
And I'm not Paul Drew.
And you are all very welcome along to our weekly dust-up of the Studio Raz live Q&A. It's number 145, dagnammit. Paul is not with us, hence we have his baldy brother.
The bald brother. There we are.
Hello, Paul's moving house. We very much hope he's having a smoother day as one can have when one moves house. It's always a challenge.
Isn't it just? I am hoping that he is, at this point, sat with his feet up enjoying a gin and tonic, just letting her indoors finish putting the finishing touches on a wonderfully smooth move.
Do you really think it's happening?
It's not happening, is it? But hope
springs. But cheers to Paul. Congratulations on the move and all that. We haven't heard from him, but
we should also say to him, happy birthday.
Indeed, happy birthday, Mr. Drew. I can't think why he wouldn't be on here tonight, but hey. You on the Vino Rougeau?
Yeah, I'm on the thick squash tonight.
Vino del Tesco. Yes. Thank you to everyone who has worked out that it's summertime.
Yes, congratulations, all 23 of you are very switched on. Literally switched on.
It was quite light out there until not that long ago, which is really rather pleasant. Walking down the garden in daylight rather than kind of dark out, isn't it? What have you been up to this week, then, mate?
Busy doing all of the things that get in the way of doing the things that I want to do. Isn't it amazing when you do your work from home, how many things are hurdles to actually getting things done?
Have you realised yet, or have you started to wonder how you ever had a quote-unquote proper job? Have you ever had time for it?
It just bamboozles me, absolutely befuddles me. I've continued to getting up early doors. My alarm is later than it was, but I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and allowing for the fact that I'm not commuting more than an hour in each direction every day, I make use. I no longer have that hurdle and that built-in excuse to I can't exercise, I can't do this, that, or the other because I've got to drive. I'm getting on with it. So I've lost a bit of timber, I've lost a bit of hair weight this week as well.
I did notice you were clearly
yes
trimming.
Yes, I'm doing it in cycles so as not to freak out the kids. I don't know if anybody's seen the video where a chap comes out of the bathroom having removed his beard and his child just freaks out. So I'm doing it in stages. This is trim number 3 since I started to do that. I was starting to get rather bored of looking like someone who'd been living in the wilderness for a while, a little bit Tom Hanks Castaway. And B, when my own YouTube goes live, I want to look rather more prim and proper, shall we say? And hence, where are we? That is the handle which I will be using moving forward for doing things not wildly dissimilar to what we get up to here of an evening. There'll be another one in due course a bit further down the line, which is rather more cello-centric. But yeah, feel free to have a little gander over coming weeks at Adventures in Gearland. If you were to subscribe now, you would be pleasantly surprised when things start appearing on there, probably the middle of next week.
Awesome stuff. There will be, you're popping over next week to grab some toys and stuff and things. And we've got some.
I am indeed.
For those of you who don't know, Greg is one of the future cheer team, the cheerleading team, who I sort of look after with all the gear stuff that we do for cheerleading. We don't look good in Lycra, all I can say.
It's not our department. Very much not on the mat for us.
So we should get into things. I mean, I've had a fairly...
Hang on, I was going to say, it's my chance at this point to say, what have you been up to, old chap?
So last week, you and Paul came over for a day of video making.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. I have been editing said videos, some of which you've seen out there in the real world. The Cornell video has done very well, but that little amp sounds awesome.
Yeah,
The
it was a pleasure being in the room with that thing. I'm looking forward to hearing that once it gets plumbed into the 4x12 as well.
the Marshall video, the Marshall pedal video has also done very well. It's one of those. The more I hear it, the more I think, do I want to get rid of the Governor too? Because it's got a thing.
Something, hasn't it? Yeah.
While a thing has a thing, it kind of has a place in here. If I didn't like it, I'd have just gone, bin it. But it's got a thing that I don't think I get from other things. So hey, there's several more videos to come in that series. I think there's one going either tomorrow night or Friday night about, quite frankly, one of the cheapest and yet one of the best sounding amps any of us have ever heard.
Yes.
I'm not going to give the game away on that. It's one of those pieces that has been a long time coming to All Things Studio Rat, but just wow, absolutely wow. There's some other stuff where K. Michael P, I noticed that you're commenting on my lack of guitar playing in videos. We are about to correct that with the addition of some other guitar players as well, which is always nice. I won't give the game away too much. I finally got Paul to play an amp that he absolutely hates and then didn't absolutely hate it, which is hilarious.
Yes, there was a marginal improvement in his opinion of it by the end of that, wasn't there?
Yep. And I got him to play the ridiculous guitar that he decided he didn't really like at all. But there's still an absolute stack load of stuff to do. I'm taking the basement and the Fender Reverb off to Dave at Guitar Lodge to get that looked at this week, along with one of the HBs that needs a little bit of love. But yeah, it's been a good week. Getting lots done, trying to get all my Antelope videos up to date for the month, trying to get a load of other stuff done, before the end of the month, so I can, quite frankly, and say in the world of being self-unemployable, invoice it out and get paid for.
Yep, get to the bottom line.
Right. So with that in mind, let's get on with that bottom line and go boom.
There we are. Carmine, good evening to you. I wanted to say hello to Mr. Paul Drew and tell him what a fantastic musician he is. Here, second that. I'm glad he didn't join Jamiroquai. I think deep down he is as well. It's that whole, meet your heroes thing, isn't it? Yeah. May fate find you always strong and worthy. The Studio Rats rocks. Good man.
Just to put this one in as well from Carmine, who's clearly in Italy. Great to have some Italian blood with us, which is always nice.
I've listened to your song several times, and Falling to Pieces is my favourite. Mine too, I might add. At 3 minutes 34 seconds, Mr. James Ivy is a delight to my ears.
That's probably the first and the last time that will ever be said about my drumming.
Well, if Paul was here, he'd make some derogatory comment, wouldn't he, about drums and all the rest of it? Right, there we are.
He's certainly not talking about my singing, that's for sure.
Good evening, K. Michael P. Howdy, y'all. Waiting for James on guitar. Well, as he's just mentioned, that's very much in the pipeline.
It's coming.
There'll be more of Jivey on the 6-string soon enough. Scent of a wheelchair pillow. Every week I wonder what it's going to be. Very good. Hey guys, you make my Wednesdays so much better, and you do mine when I read your titles anyway. Wondering if someone could, in good conscience, list a refretted guitar as mint if everything is perfect on the guitar.
Ooh.
I would say not. Myself.
I would say mint condition brackets refret. Because
if you do it some sort of qualifier, so be it. But that's not mint if it's had work done, to my mind.
But does not to me, as new means everything is as the original. I've just sold some camera gear that I've not been using to MBP in exchange for a camera that I know I will use.
Yes.
And I put one of my DSLRs down as mint as new condition, and they've said it was missing one part, therefore it's not mint. I said, but the thing I've sent you is mint. So I think as new, if
Yeah.
it was straight out of the factory, no dings, no nothing, as new, straight from the factory with a ding or two is marked as B stock.
Right.
And then mint, or, you know, in perfect working order, brackets, refretted, I think is an acceptable thing to add.
Fair enough.
I think
I'd be interested to see what other folks think about that.
it's certainly grey, isn't it?
Yeah, defo. Out of curiosity, is that asking for a friend or something that you're thinking about picking up yourself? Anyway, there we go. Good evening, Shepard. How are you? Pet. Just loaded up Lexicon 224 with the acoustic and a Highland plectrum, no less. Sounds epic. I'm sure it does. Loving these plectrums and life. Evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Pet, and congratulations on getting a bit of airtime with that pedal show guys on Monday evening as well.
Good man. At this point, I'm sure David's in as well, but
he'll be around, won't he? I'm sure.
As Pet has already mentioned, these babies are just phenomenal. Yep. I was using this one on a recording just this afternoon to try and get a little bit of extra zing out of a P90 guitar. That Baum,
yes,
was particularly nice.
Nice. David, good evening to you. Hi. Funky Bass UK. Best of luck, Mr. June. Happy birthday. Yes, the last move I had was relatively painless. I'm hoping the Paul's has been similarly okay. I moved from one end of this village to the other. Paul has changed counties, put a good few miles between point A and point B.
I changed counties. I came the other side of a river and moved this. And yeah. In
hindsight, it would have been nice to have done a documentary on it, wouldn't it? Kind of.
The problem is, and everyone says that, but you can't do the thing and shoot the thing.
Yes, yeah, no, it would have needed at least another person, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a crew, and then all I end up doing is worrying that person's incompetent and not doing a very good job, and so yeah, but it's here. Obviously, it's here, and it's been moved twice now.
It's all worked. It's all Pet, happy birthday, Butte. Yes, indeedy. Carmine, the birthday love's coming in. Super.
Yarp.
Howdy, Chris. Hope you're well. Good evening to you as well. Davor Pavor. Good evening, all, and happy birthday. That's a lovely pair, isn't it?
Excuse my French. Yes, yeah, they are really rather fetching.
David says retired last year, and I've never been busier. Good for you, but yeah, busier with things that you want to do rather than day jobby things, though. Hope so. Funky Bass. It does sound great, doesn't it, Funky Bass? Calling dibs if it goes. I suspect, having been in the room when it was doing what it does, that will stay for a decent while, that one.
So,
unless another thing that you have yet to listen to one does something similar.
That's the thing. The only thing that puts me off it, and it's not majorly putting me off, is it's not a head. Because we know that 4x12 sound has got a thing. I don't know what thing it is, but it's got a thing. That Cornell sounds epic. I mean, properly epic. So this week, for if you fancy some amp eBay updates, the Cornford has gone.
Mm-hmm.
The Marshall 100 DSL head has gone. The JCM 800 Studio has gone.
All right, good.
The Rivera, the little pubster, has gone.
Mm.
So there's spaces being space is being made. A couple of things that haven't gone yet that I thought would. But the funniest thing is the number of people who've gone, oh yeah, this amp was reviewed on a certain YouTube channel and they really liked it, so I've been trying to find one. Another bloke said, oh, this was one of these came out at an auction the other week, but I missed out on it. And then a guy on YouTube reviewed it. And I've said to both of them, "Hi, I'm James from that YouTube channel." And they've gone, "Sorry, yeah, didn't really put two and two together there."
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So I don't mean to mock those who are buying stuff from me. I really don't. But it was funny. Going, what are the chances that that's happened? And I mean, the stars do align remarkably often. I know that, but it just makes me laugh.
One of those things, isn't it?
And the chap who is having the cornford off me, you will have many hours of fun from that because it's awesome.
Nice bit of kit. Good evening, Dave. There he is. Hello, rodents. Hope you all well. I think we all are. Not in good form this week. Oh, dear God. Dislocated left hand pinky.
Ooh.
Tell for God knows how long. But Easter Hall start Friday, so not all bad. Well, there you go. A bit of a silver lining. Plus, increased sales from our fellow studio rat lovers.
If you haven't checked out David's Reverb channel, it's the Highland Petrol Company on Reverb. The pics are awesome.
Yes,
they just
I have one upstairs as well. If it's not too much like reliving an horrible experience, could you share with how on earth you managed to dislocate said pinky, David?
I bet it's a really stupid thing. It was like getting out of the shower or putting on an item or something stupid. If it was any more than that, David, I don't want to know because you don't want to see me throw.
There we are. Chemical P, another birthday wish for Paul. Good. Cheers, Pet. Glad you're enjoying your pics. Yes, the what's the word? The cross-pollination of the Studio Rats community continues. Good to see.
It's a beautiful thing.
Judd Lofthouse. What have we got there in a couple of cases?
Ooh.
Like a real Leicester pair of them.
Nice. Yes.
Let us know, Judd. Let us know. Evening, gentlemen. I love that little 7-watt. Yep. It really is. As I say, I was in the room last Wednesday?
It was last
Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah, a week ago. Yeah. And it just sounded like rock, the rock of ages. I didn't think it needed the pedals. I thought there was enough in it to, there's a lot of
grunt in that little thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different sounds in there as well, I think. If you can find one, I'd be amazed if you found one at a similarly awesome price as James did. But if you can find one, I think you could make a far worse investment if you're after that Milton Keynes sound.
The funny thing is, the stuff that's staying, and so I'm not going to give the game away because these videos are coming over the next few weeks, but I wouldn't have necessarily gone out and bought those amps. I wouldn't have even tried them.
One in particular is going to make a few people suck a thoughtful tooth, I suspect, and think, we've been looking at that, and it's been hiding in plain sight in terms of, I think, of the brand as much as anything else. Very rarely gets as much love as I think it should, personally, given that
there's a young lady out there. I think she's Argentinian, I believe. Larry Brasilio.
No, you mean, yeah.
Plays a purple telly-shaped Ibanez thing, which is her signature model. And she plays through this particular brand of amplification, and the noise she makes is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely it's definitely a brand to be taken seriously, but that's kind of giving the game away a bit too much. But the video will come, I'm sure, probably early next week, if not later on this week. I can't remember. I haven't seen if Paul's set it up to go live yet. But oh yes, you'll enjoy that one, boys and girls.
Defo. Pet. Yeah. Yes, you're getting a community hug, David, for the pinky. We're obviously being careful of the left hand. There we are. Onwards. Jeff. Rainy Brisbane this week. We're early. Well, I think we're just about on time. Haven't even put pants on, so situation normal. Fair play, Jeff.
That could be a little more information than we require, Jeff. But it's British summertime now. We're heading into the brighter evenings, and it's beautiful. Although it has been an absolute pain trying to drag small people out of bed in the dark.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've got the rest of this week before Easter holidays, and I don't know what your two are like, but my two are absolutely exhausted.
Yeah. Well, we've got a little family trip at the weekend, so they're counting down the days to that, which is taking the mind off being, as you say, cream crackered from a long half term. But there we go. Good evening, Duncan. Nice to see you in.
Yeah.
Proper love in between these two. This is nice. Thomas Ross. Is that a new name?
No, I think I've seen that guitar before.
Right. Apologies, Thomas. I don't always have my eyes on the screen. I tend to be cooking and listening to the live stream quite a lot. Hello to British Columbia and you as well. We are well, I think.
We're all good.
After all this time, it's Mike.
I'm not sure I get that, but
it's me using the Sunday name, the full Sunday name. I shall henceforth just say Mike. Thank you.
I'm really confused.
As in, I said K. Michael P. as opposed to I could just say Mike. There we go.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Oh, here we go. Atari. In with this could be fun. Any tips for gain staging your guitar when you are using VST amp emulations in your DAW? Do you look at your input signal VU meter? I will throw this one to you, James, simply by virtue of the fact that I always use an amplifier.
I would say there are several things you need to do here. Input level is one thing, but by far the most important for guitar is input impedance. Basically input resistance. Now that sounds really, really boring. You will need, and again, I'm jumping to all sorts of conclusions how you're doing this, but on the audio interface that you're plugging in your guitar into, use a DI or an instrument input. If you just use a line input, the impedance will be all wrong and it won't sound as good as it can. So first of all, definitely use a DI input. A lot of interfaces now, all the Antelope stuff does, the Universal Audio stuff, all gives you the option with a normal 1/4-inch jack to set the input as an instrument or DI input, which will get you round the impedancing issue. Basically matching the impedance that your guitar is expecting to see on the output of its cable to what you're offering it at the interface end. From there on in, it is very much a grey area. I normally aim for around about -18, unless, and that's dB. Hang on, dBu,
right?
And that's important. Not dB, actually DBFS. In a DAW it would be DBFS because you don't want to go to 0 because dB full scale. Paul at this point would probably be snoring, so apologies for that. -18 on your VU meter inside your DAW, and if you find you're not hitting the amp hard enough, crank it a little bit. So if you're not getting the tone you expect, experiment with your input gain, if you like, that's going into your DAW. But I think you'll find that the biggest problem you're having is not the input level, it's the input impedance. Atari, if we can be of any more, shed any more light on that, let us know some more info, what audio interface you're using, what DAW you're using, what plugins you're using, and I can probably help a little bit more specifically.
I'd be interested to know, Atari, is this you trying to save a few hours and get it from the horse's mouth, as James has just so amicably provided, or have you had this for a while and just not been happy with it? Again, let us know. Let us know what you're up to.
There's a well-known, how can I say this without being shot down in flames? There's a well-known Fender model on the Universal Audio platform which does not sound like the real thing. And I have tried many, many, many times to get the gain staging into the amp right using the Apollo platform. And I can't get it to sound like they do in the demo.
Okay.
And I know I'm not the only person, because I've had several people ask me, how did they do that? And I'm like, I got no idea. I can't make it do it either.
Right.
It always sounds distorted and gritty and over the top.
Mm.
So again, any more information you can provide, Atari, and we'll do our best.
And one last thing before he chimes back in. What have you tried? And if it's very little thus far, I would echo the words of the good people of the American version of JHS and just try stuff.
Yes.
Mess around. Whatever your initial thought process was, turn it on its head. Go halfway in between as well. Just give stuff a go, because it may be that whatever the, as it were, suggested settings that the manual give you, just don't float your boat. You might be happier doing something entirely different. And ultimately, beauty in the eye of the beholder, or the ears in this case. Give things a whirl. See where you are happiest.
I have had lots of success with the Avid 11 plugins, like putting a stomp box in front, even if it's bypassed, like you would in real life, putting a stomp box plugin in front of the amp emulation plugin.
Okay.
To drive the amp correctly, if that makes sense.
It does.
Because a lot of these things are modeled so accurately.
Yeah.
They're modeled to the point where you can treat them as if they were hardware.
Right. Again, worth a try, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do what Paul does with many of the modeler type things that he uses. Stick an actual pedal in front of, and see what occurs there. Because this is the part of the question that it occurs to me only now that we totally bypassed. Gain staging. Not just how do you get a decent noise right off the bat, but how do you gain stage? Do it as you've always done it. Stick a few pedals in front of you and whack them on. See how it reacts.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, gain staging refers to setting the gain.
Right.
Hence. But I don't think it's a gain thing. I would pitch in fairly heavily. It's an impedance thing.
Let's see what it comes back with. Let us know, Atari. Maestro 1, good evening all. We are in fine fettle, but we're all feeling sorry for Dave and his little finger, Maestro.
Yes.
Shep, have you had any experience with SG 2000? Sorely tempted to scratch an itch. I'm not. I'm going to do that thing of a man on the internet checks the internet for stuff, whilst people at the other end of the internet look at a man watching a man check.
Now, here's the thing. I was with a well-known, probably not that well-known out in the normal world, but a well-known session guitar player, producer, engineer type person a little while back. And he said to me, and he plays for a very, very, back in the 90s, he was the second guitar for a very, very, very well-known Britpop band from Manchester. And he is now the producer engineer with one of said very, very, very famous band from Manchester. And he's a blinding guitar player. And he said these are one of those sleeper instruments. Right. Snaps them up.
Okay.
So, yeah. If I do it here.
Oh, they've been around a while, haven't they? The first one that I can see is from 1978. And what is it that they do differently then, based on the conversation that you had, that another double cut two humbucker guitar?
But basically, what we're referring to, boys and girls, I'm going to put this in. This is a reverb article. Is one of these. Yes, thank you very much. Basically, a Yamaha SG. And
crazy cheap. I found one for 2,500 quid.
These they're a sleeper. They're an absolute sleeper. It's SG 200 rather than a 2000, but it's basically an SG shaped Yamaha thing, and they are mind-blowing. He had probably 10 of them lined up in his studio. Now, this is a chap who also had 3 335s of varying vintages and a dozen Strats of various vintages, could play any of them, but was going, I'll play this Yamaha thing, please.
It's intriguing. I wonder if it is that they have, or Yamaha have solved the problem of, wow, it stays in tune.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm after an SG. An SG. There are 2 guitars now. There are 3 guitars now that I want.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
An Eric Johnson Strat is a
Yes.
given. A real 335.
Yes.
And an SG.
Yeah.
Those are going to make up the Holy Trinity from here on in. Maybe something super stratty if it comes along.
I watched.
Jen's not listening. It's okay.
Yeah. It's happening on the internet. She'll never know.
Shep, I would, if you find one at a good price, I would scratch that itch well and truly. So, yeah.
Give it a go, mate. Give it a go. Pet, what compressor EQ studio setup do you think was used on Don Henley's Boys of Summer? Almost sounds like a delicate whisper. George Michael, I'm joking, of course. That's very much to you, the producer in the house.
I would say you could use an SM58 on Don Henley, and it would sound like Don Henley. It's the honest answer. The guy's got an amazing voice.
Great pipes. It is true.
You only have to listen to the way they do it live, and it still sounds as good as. I suspect, the era of that song, early 80s-ish, early to mid 80s.
I'm going to have to ask. I've got it in mind as being slightly later 80s.
Okay, I'm going to go. I'd pitch in with a U87, a Neumann U87, into some kind of Neve pre, or actually probably an API because it sounds brighter, with an 1176.
1984.
I was, yeah,
spot on. George
Orwell was on form that day. Yeah. I would go very
standard.
Yeah,
middle lane.
But the guy's got amazing voice, so that's what's gonna sell it more than any gear.
How close to that little selection of toys that James has just listed, Pet, can you get with your setup? I know that having watched this, you've been gathering equipment over the last however long it's been, 18 months, 2 years, something like that, is it? In order to get your performances nicely recorded at home and up on the internet. What things have you got that could get into that ballpark, I wonder? How close could you get?
Something in that ballpark, you're going to go a half decent large diaphragm condenser mic into the UAD platform. There you go. You'll get close.
Yeah.
And then I
think Pet's got UA stuff, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah. That's why I went that way. Yeah.
Yeah, Pet, give that a whirl. Which can't be given the notes sung and the full on chesty volume that producer's liver. That producer delivers.
Yeah, possible. But I'm going to go. It's 99% him. I really am. As much as you'd love to think there's some magic bullet, some magic thing that whichever producer it was, and I don't know who did that, it's him. You could have given him 58. It's like Annie Lennox sang a vast amount of the Eurythmics stuff on a 58 because they were in the studio and that's what she had.
Yeah. Michael, good evening. My GT1 keeps surprising me. Today compared it to a DS1 and CH1 pedals and it fared pretty good. Doesn't surprise me.
No.
The models within the Boss stuff are great, aren't they? They do a job. They fulfill a function. I'm sure if you got out and got to fight in volume, as it were, in the trenches gigging, you might find some little tweaks, discrepancies here and there. But if push comes to shove, you're in a tight spot. That's what you've got available. I was going to say about what Pet was listing previous of what selection of gear could we get there and thereabouts with. Puerto's law, the whole 80-20 thing, you're never going to get absolutely spot on in terms of reproducing Don Henley's voice, are you? But can you get a decent whack of the way there? Same with this stuff. The models, I'm thinking Katana, the models within Katana are great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that GT1 is a feisty little bit of kit.
But the daft thing about Katana, let's call the whole thing off, is that every time we put it up against some Uber amp, it just goes, come on, man. Yeah. And while you could say, oh, it's not the same as a Matchless or as a Cornford or whatever, it gets 99% of the way there. How many times have we put Epiphone 335s up against the real thing and gone, do you know what? For a tenth the price,
the cost. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it.
While a DS1 and a CH1 pedal, they're not the most expensive things in the world, but a GT1 has got all that and more in it, and it's a lot easier to carry, and it's set up in an instant, and all those things that we say. Yeah.
There's mileage in it, isn't there? Also, apparently the Eagles spent a year just on the vocals for Hotel California. Access to groupies, etc. aside. Come on, lads, pull your finger out. Wise words. I think that's good Welsh work ethic shining through there.
How can I possibly say it? So, from after Paul's talking about bands of the 70s and 80s, as we clearly are at the minute, after Paul's recommendation, I am working my way through Daisy Jones and the Six.
Okay. Yep.
And it's like the 70s rock version of Nashville, the TV series, which I loved because the music's brilliant. But what's hilarious is the rock and roll excess, and I think that's what would have slowed the Eagles down, if you know what I mean.
I rather suspect so, without wishing to cast overly significant aspersions, because I suspect that their legal beagles are substantially better than mine.
Well, we know they are because Don Henley's taking YouTube and everyone to the cleaners, or trying to. That they're entitled to their opinion, wrong as it may be. And
on we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, rookie mistake: erecting a garden fence and forgot to take the gloves off when using drill. Oh. Yeah, that's unfortunate, Dave. Ouch. I've got that slightly tingly feeling at the back of my thighs on your behalf. Not much fun there. Not much fun.
Mate. Let's hope for a swift recovery on that one.
In my one of my previous guises, I have seen some very intriguing things as a result of accidents in the workplace. You've got away lightly. That could have been a rather different situation, couldn't it?
The worst I ever saw was between bands and between seasons and stuff, I've done every job under the sun, as many musicians have. And I took a job at a distillery, a bottling plant of a distillery.
It's going to be a theme. There's a question coming soon, but anyway, carry on.
Yeah. And all the various sort of capping machinery and stuff that feeds the bottles and the boxing stuff. And this guy was cleaning the capping machine, and he had his arm up inside it, and someone switched it on, and it took a fairly large chunk out of his forearm, and they decided to clean it. But obviously, it's a distillery. What did we have a lot of? Neat alcohol. Right. So they cleaned it up, and he went, right, I'm going to drive myself to hospital. We went, no, you're not. You're about 55% proof.
Oh, God. Ouch. I bet he said, heavens, that smarts a bit.
It was not nice. There was an ambulance involved, and yes, there was. Even back then, there was such thing as HSE. Right. Boom. Let's go.
Duncan, a bit off topic, but brewing up an IPA while listening in. Duncan, this is something which I have mentioned to Messrs. Drew and Ivy in the past. A Studio Rats brew.
Studio Rats ale. If Clarkson can do it, we can.
Exactly. And it sounds like
I'm
Duncan
cracking on.
might be a business partner.
I'm on Shipyard at the moment. I quite like this stuff.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's a nice
Mm.
tipple.
Yes.
Duncan, you might have to make contact with the guys via their website and see if there's a business opportunity for you all. It could be a bit of fun, couldn't it?
That could be dangerous.
Well, you'll have to do an awful lot of research, won't you?
Yeah, I'll be chief tester. That's always been a dream job.
Funky. Hi, Zed. Right, so presumably this is going back to the VST.
Yes. So high Z, high Z. The Americans call it Z. Z is for impedance. Now, impedance is measured in ohms. So it's basically resistance, but you don't call it R, you call it Z because it's impedance, not resistance. I don't really know the answer why. Sorry.
Funky. Hi, Javi. I have a Fender Tweed Deluxe and the UAD plugin. Sounds horrific at all settings, whereas the real amp sounds amazing at all settings. Well,
I couldn't possibly comment, but that might have been what I was talking about.
Yeah. I suspect Funky, like certainly me, and to a greater or lesser extent, James, given the wall of amplification units to his right-hand side, we're all in the same boat here.
But it should sound really good, but I don't.
It should, shouldn't it?
I've complained to UA about that particular plugin a lot, and they say it's how it's supposed to be, and I'm like, you're just wrong. Hey, who knows?
It's all right. Thanks, guys. I use a VST VU meter in Cubase inserted after the amplitude VST and try and get the needle to 0, -18. Problem is the signal is so dynamic, the needle jumps around all over the place.
Peak should be -18.
Right.
So do some chugging, some chug, and a little bit of dancing over -18 is fine. But yeah, that's where it should be.
There we go. Hope that helps. Steve, good evening to you. Carlos Santana Moonflower.
Ooh, but that's nice.
I'm gonna have another. SG2. So it is 2000 specifically.
It is.
Carlos.
It is.
Yes, it is coming up now. So that's the reason why the one you found, SG200, was 350 quid, and the one that I'm looking at is 2.5 grand. I get you. Thanks, Steve, for clarifying.
I want to see if there's any images of this thing because I'm like, all of us. Oh, excuse me. I'm just hang on. Let me put a picture of this thing up because it's a thing of extreme beauty.
Pleasant pieces.
For
of
some bizarre reason, I've gone to a Yamaha Japanese site, but oh,
bad is it?
That's
so 3-piece body.
Yeah, very, very obviously a 3-piece body. I bet it's not chambered. That's lush.
Not a massive fan of those volume knobs, if I'm honest.
Oh no. Do you know what? It's really funny for someone who is so aesthetically driven as what I is. That sort of stuff, I just look at that and go, yummy. I couldn't give a monkey's about any of that stuff.
Now, riddle me this, Jivey. Bound neck and body.
Oh, well,
yeah.
In this particular case, I'd cope. It wouldn't be my first choice. But that's one of the things about this thing. Reaches over and grabs the guitar that Paul hates, which is hilarious. It's a Gibson, and yet it's not a bound neck. Not, I mean, it's a chunk of wood, a pointy shaped chunk of wood. To the point at which Kurt, our photography friend, who's been on the podcast on the show, has said, "Finally, you have a guitar that I can appreciate."
Nice. We like Kurt. He's a good egg. He's
currently frustrated as his van's packed up and he's halfway to Amsterdam, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes, of course.
Right, we're getting
Thanks
there.
for heads up, Steve. I feel like I've missed a chunk of learning there. I shall rectify that when we're finished this evening. William HSI, good evening to you. Question to us both. What kind of vibrato do you prefer? Slow or fast? Examples: fast like BB King, Eric Johnson; slow like Wingy.
Wingway.
John Sykes. Oh, Ingve. All right. John Sykes, regards, William. Regards to you too. You start. I am going to throw into the mix the circular vibrato of Mr. Vi, which I've got a soft spot for. And I would just throw another little variation into the equation as well. Listen to Joey Landreth's various vibrato options, both fingered and with the slide. Same with Ariel Posen. The nuance that those guys get, I think, is remarkable, because it's not just a case of I have a vibrato. It's I have a palette of vibratos from which to choose depending on the song, etc., etc. My kind of gestalt moment of Yngwie vibrato is enormously wide. You know, the sort of drunk isn't the right word.
Drunk vibrato. I like that.
Ostentatious, I think, is the right.
I like the idea of drunk vibrato.
But you know, huge, gregarious vibrato in his case, which there's a place for it. It's a bit too much to my mind. I'm more of I prefer the more subtle, nuanced affairs. Hence, as I say, Messrs. Posen and Landreth myself. What about you?
Firstly, I'm noticing there could be a problem on the stream. Although we say we're live and we're talking to each other, they're having problems. Bear with us.
It's probably because it's scything down with rain here.
But yeah, Michael seems to be with us still. I think it's probably back by now. If it's back, can you tell us when it's back? And if you've missed stuff, well, it'll be on the catch-up post-event. I am very much in the Eric Johnson Bonamassa, because let's face it, even Joe Bonamassa has to thank Eric Johnson for his career. Yeah, but no, there's a joke, isn't there? That Joe Bonamassa, whenever he sees Eric Johnson, yes, he says thank you. I'm a great fan of the Gilmour vibrato. How could you not be? The man knows exactly what to do with a whammy bar. I'm a great fan of the Lukather vibrato.
Right.
Because again, it just he almost treats it like a vocal. When a vocalist sings a long note, you hit the note and then you tail it off with a bit of vibrato, and he almost treats it like a vibrato, like a vocal vibrato. It's lovely.
Yeah.
I also I have a soft spot for the Steve Vai caressing vibrato, and that's quite why that's words come into my head. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think it's very much per song. I think if you can do the whole huge vibrato, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan's vibrato as well, because I mean the guy practically lets go of the guitar and shakes the thing. I think it's what you. Can I play it? No, I can do a kind of a Gilmour-esque vibrato with a whammy bar and with fingers, because I can play his speed. I can't play any of the other speed.
I'm interested to know what the rest of the masses think as well. Who else springs to mind? There must, I'm sure, be a variety.
Petrucci's vibrato is beautiful.
I have probably exposed myself to even less Dream Theater than Paul has, so I can't pass judgment there. I've tried as much as anything else by virtue of conversations you and I have had, and I've given
a great because he did a G3 with Satriani and Vi. His G3 is amazing.
Is it?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll give him one last run out when I'm out on the bike tomorrow. Then.
His G3 is incredible. Glasgow Kiss. I mean, what else could it be called?
You're welcome, Shep. No bother, mate.
Very welcome indeed.
Drum Bass Studios. James, where do you find the best place to put your drum overheads? There's going to be a punchline coming, but we'll keep going. The edge or in the middle of the cymbals, for example. Is there a magic spot, or just keep moving them around till they sound good? Before James comes in with his sales pitch, I will say again, I'm a broken record. just try stuff. Keep going, mate. There might be something that you find that you particularly love that nobody else has thought of. Anyway, I'm not a drummist or a recording engineer. However, there is a man who is about to tell you exactly what you need to hear.
Hi. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, because that's silly, because what Greg said is actually the best solution. Try stuff out and see what works. However, I'm going to give you, and again, Paul will be going, a very quick physics lesson. Now, microphones work on pressure, SPL, sound pressure level. So if this is your microphone and this is your cymbal, and let's just say, argument's sake, I'm putting the microphone pointing at the edge of the cymbal, the
perimeter.
Yeah. Now, if that, and I have to do this backwards, which is why I look like I'm not doing a very good job. If that cymbal is, cymbal's doing this. What you're doing is you're pushing air at various different pressures into the microphone.
Yep.
That translates into a sound.
Okay.
If the microphone is in the middle of the cymbal, and again, I can't do this because I'm trying. You can imagine there's not the pressure variation, so you don't get that wishy-washy sort of sound.
Okay.
Now, of course, the higher you go away from the cymbal, the more quote unquote air you get. I mean, the biggest problem in my last studio is there was no height. I could not get height. My overheads now are probably a good 3 feet above the cymbals.
Okay.
But the center of the diaphragm is pointing at what I'd refer to as a kind of line where all the bells of the cymbals are.
Okay.
Give or take. But the big thing is, if your mic is lined up with the edge, you're going to get that kind of pressure variation, washy sound. If it's in the middle, you're not going to get that. That's a good starting point. Generally, the higher you can go, the more of an overall kit sound you're going to get. The closer you go, the more direct cymbal sound you're going to get. So it depends. If you're close micing everything, you can come a bit closer because you're miking up individual cymbals for shits and giggles. If you're trying to get an overall kit sound out of the overheads, go a bit higher. Michael, who is also might be able to join in on that one as well. What I should do, of course, is I should post the links. I forgot to do that. So if anybody does want to come and join in with this evening's festivities, they are more than welcome to do so. But hopefully that's helpful and gonna gonna be useful.
To what extent does the soon to be released Studio Rats drum recording masterclass cover such questions?
A lot.
There's a lot
of things in there. It will be, I think Kev, Kurt and I spent a good couple of days working prolifically on this thing. I've now got nearly 300 gig of footage to work my way through.
Wow. Okay.
When
does the cutting room open to start that little?
Next Tuesday, a week on Tuesday when I fly to NAMM, I've got a 10-hour flight to sit there and start sizing.
Go. Sound. All right. So at some point, month 2, Drum Bass Studios, there will be all manner of answers readily available to you from our in-house drum specialist.
Hi. Anyway, hopefully we'll sort that out. Nothing I can do. Connection-wise, it's all dealt with via StreamYard. As far as I can tell, we're still live. I haven't received a message from them saying it's gone down. Hopefully we're back soon. If not, catch up after the event. Sorry.
As it were.
But America seems to still be on.
Yes, there we are. Good evening to you. A while since you checked in. Hope all's well where you are.
Michael, are you going to NAMM in a couple of weeks? If so, please message me. We should hook up because it's been a while, and we'll hang out again at the PMC booth and drink free scotch.
Excellent. Tough gig.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. There's a lot of people saying it's gone down. It's because the hot bulb one isn't there. Clearly Paul's joined in now.
Good evening, Paolo. I hope you've seen in the the chat.
There's a lot of love for you, buddy. Hope you had a good day. Hope the day went as well as we possibly could do. Yeah, missing you, mate.
Maybe don't. Perhaps Mr. Henley is exerting the power that vast swathes of cash can allow you to disrupt the internet. I can't believe I said that.
Yeah.
Funky bass. I'm still connected. Is that what happens when you? This is it.
It could well be.
There's a theme.
Yes.
Get on then, Paul. Birthday. Exactly. Shit. During the intermission, I shall. Very good. Very good, Shep. Well
hopefully you're back now. It's funny. Michael's just asking me the same thing.
Yes, there we are. Well, questions answered. Yeah.
So, on the NAMM front.
Ah, yes. What news? You've got developments, haven't you?
Anyone is curious. So, it's official. Mr. Drew is not going. He's annoyed about that, but we'll all cope. However, what's very exciting is I have managed to secure a stage and a performance area to do the Q&A live from the NAMM show.
Nice.
Now, we're trying to work out how we make this actually work, but I think we can do it in such a way that I'll have a laptop so I can see Paul. We can take questions from the floor. Rex will be there with me, hopefully being my camera guy.
Brilliant.
And we'll take stuff that we can just make it work somehow. We will make it work, dagnamit.
How many weeks hence is it?
It's about 2, 3. Hang on, let me have a quick look at my diary. It is, he says, I fly 2 weeks. 2 weeks yesterday, I fly.
Rats, as it were. If only it had been 4 and a bit weeks. Having number 150 live from NAMM would have been
would have been amazing, wouldn't it? It would be quite hilarious. But no, it will be that the 150 will be when we get back. But yeah, very
related. Obviously, Paul and James have got plans in the pipeline already. But if any of our community has thought of something fun which might happen on the big 150, drop us a line on here. Get on the lads' website, leave them a note there, reach out one way or another, and I'm sure it'll be a party just like the last big number was.
Yeah, the 100 was. I think now we've got a bigger space. We could do long. I think we could go longer. This
is what I mean. I think there's far more potential, isn't there, to do more things. Perhaps even have some live studio guests.
Well, I think there's actually legs to start having live bands in now, because this rig here is the string
literally
rig,
built for it,
and I've tested it now with the string quartet, and it works really, really well.
Nice.
And I can even make it talk to StreamYard as well, which is really cool. Or we just put it on YouTube and it sounds better. I don't know why, but it just does. But yeah, there's ways and means we can do these things. But there's some cool stuff coming. 150 would be really cool to have a session, wouldn't it?
Defo. That would be good fun. Defo.
Yes. Right. Let's get back to. Apparently, it's all back and it's lovely. So yeah.
Through neck. That might explain why they've made such an obvious job of it being lots of lumps of wood stuck together then.
Yes.
Again, I'm sorry if there are people out there screaming at the screens. I apologise for my lack of knowledge about this particular guitar. I will remedy it once we've finished. HK, good evening to you. Could you please recommend a MIDI delay with reverb pedal? Thank you. Is it the Collider?
Yeah.
Oh, can you talk amongst yourselves and I'll do
What's
some
it
quick.
called again?
I think it's called the Collider.
As in with a C?
It is, yes. Is it AIA? Not Collider, Collider.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
So
I
is
got
it Source Audio?
It is Source Audio. Well done.
There we
Good.
go. That thing's
Hold
awesome.
you hold a sec. Hold on a second. It's coming. But
There we
delay
go.
with reverb. There you go.
You could do a lot worse than get involved with one of those things.
And it's got MIDI. It's got
It's-
everything. It ticks many of those boxes.
Yeah. Just for the sake of being awkward, well, not awkward, but giving you an option, have you listened to the Halo pedal by Keeley, which is MIDI?
That's a good
It
one.
is technically only delay. However, if you've heard what Mr. Timmons does with his signature pedal, you'll double take, thinking surely there's reverb involved there. You can produce that effect by using a collection of any two delays stuck together, but it's quite a thing. There is it's not MIDI, is it? There's that Earthquaker Devices that's got both.
I would also say, does it have to be one pedal? Because quite frankly, a flashback and a Hall of Fame, you're going to pick up for under £100 the pair.
Not sure they are, mate.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're more expensive than you think these days.
An old one, a second-hand one.
Yeah, even on
Really?
the Bay the flashbacks are quite punchy. I presume HK, it's is it a pedal board real estate issue? Is that one of the drivers here? That said, as James says, with a couple of the small single TC. If you're concerned about the fidelity of TC, and hence something like this, I would suggest is a step or two up. There is another.
The thing is, I would say about the TC, the Hall of Fame. I would say though, I know someone who used the Hall of Fame as the master vocal reverb on a major artist's tour, and the only reason he did it, not sonically, was because he could turn it on and off with his foot.
Yeah, it's. I have got a variety of TC pedals.
Me too.
I think they're very good. Certainly at the price point. I've got another friend, an American vocalist, who previously queried the standard of sounds, but I guess it's what are you doing with it? Are you going out down the dog and duck? Are you recording? Are you doing a pro tour? What sort of level are we talking, HK?
I know people who mix Hollywood film scores and movie soundtracks and things who use Pro Tools stock plugins, including the reverbs. So when people say, "All right, it doesn't sound, it's not good sound," I'm struggling. I'm struggling when people when I found out that, say, well-known mixers use just stock plugins, because he said, I know that any Pro Tool system in the world I turn up to is going to have it.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
The other one that springs to mind is the Keeley Caverns. Took me a while there, but I'm just checking, trying to work out if it's MIDI as well. I don't know, but the Keeley.
That Source Audio, the Collider, is a great shout.
It sounds wondrous.
And Koskov, HK is also saying Koskov vibrato. Yeah.
Oh, crikey, yeah, great shout. Great shout.
Shall we do the news?
It's probably time, isn't it? Where are we?
It is getting that way. Yeah. Let's do the news. Oh, don't go to bookmarks, stupid thing. Right. So you have found these, and I have found one. Because it's hilarious. A friend of mine posted online, I've bought shares in popcorn. And after that, I realized what he meant, but I'll come on to that shortly. Go, talk to us.
This interests me. I'm intrigued by the fact that a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, there was Kemper. Probably more than 10 years now, isn't it?
A lot more.
And price point, you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of cash. There again, you might argue the toss that yes, it's a lot of cash, but you're also traveling with every amplifier under the sun under your arm in your lunchbox. So maybe it's justifiable. Fractal, punchy bit of kit. Quad Cortex, both you and our absent brother, Mr. Drew, not warmed by it in any way, shape, or form.
And what's funny is that KDH this week put out a video saying, "Where's all the stuff they promised us?" And it's true that people are selling their QCs like it's going out of fashion.
And I just haven't got involved as much as anything else by virtue of the fact that the only time I used it was a couple of years back when we were doing a quick and dirty track in Bournemouth.
And it sounded great, didn't it? It did sound really good.
It sounded perfectly nice. The feel of it left me utterly cold. There was nothing there at all.
It arrived, I plugged it in, I put some headphones in it, normally, which is when you get your best wow factor, because and I went, oh. Anyway, so that's not the hint.
Yeah, we digress. But again, 1,500 quid, was it? 1,800 quid, something like that. Punchy. Then a couple of weeks ago, the landscape changed when IK Multimedia released their Tonex box, which again sounds wonderful, but the price point is different class. You know, there are a variety of other pedals that are substantially more expensive than that and are one-trick ponies. This thing does an awful lot, doesn't it? This Tonex unit.
And to be fair, I've said this many times. I'm not a great fan of taking a 1/4-inch cable, plugging it into an interface, and expecting it to sound good. Tonex does. Tonex sounds really good just doing that.
I'm looking forward to being in the room with one of those things. Either when my own arrives, I'm going to dip a toe into those waters, or next time you and Paul have got one readily to hand. So we're down to.
I'm only rocking the Tonex software because I've got an interface that's got a good input, and they've got, and the interfaces I've got have got, and the one you will have has got a reamp output.
Right.
So you don't need the extra box.
Anyway, 400 quid. What's the software? Is it 179? I might be making that number up, but there and thereabouts.
It's not a lot, yeah.
Whatever it is, relatively cheap compared to a Kemper or Quad Cortex. And now this.
Yeah.
Model an amp for nothing if you're prepared to risk downloading something from our website.
And if you're not, quite frankly, it's not 1981 anymore.
Yeah, well, there is that. This, I don't know if the timing of this is on purpose ahead of NAMM. It makes me wonder of those manufacturers that are going to NAMM, if they are now flapping around, wondering if something that is very much in the early stages of R&D and development, and what have you, are thinking, can we actually get something ready to sit out in NAMM that can change the landscape? Because presumably this is just the bottom end of the market falling out. At the point at which you can do it gratis, you're going to have to do something very special in order to make an impact now.
Yeah, totally.
But again, as I say, or mentioned earlier, that is from a chap who has never once played one of these type of things. A guitar sound that is generated entirely by my computer. It just doesn't appeal to me. Maybe I'm just too old-fashioned.
We'll put that right next week when you come over, because I'm the same. I like amps.
If nothing else, it might make for interesting viewing, just to stick a camera on it and see what the reaction is, eh?
Right.
There we go. So and then those wonderful people at Positive Grid have done this again. I wonder if Paul has calmed down yet from being affronted by the way that Positive Grid just took his video and decided that that was their marketing budget that he'd created for them, which was bad form in my eyes. The way that they did that. That being said, what this thing does, the people to whom it is aimed or at whom it is aimed, that spark that I've got, same thing that you've got, makes a perfectly good noise if you are, thinking in terms of, I'm not about to go and do gigs with it. It's not a professional bit of kit, inverted commas, but in order to get people enthusiastic about playing the guitar, playing the bass, and enjoying music in a setting that doesn't require them to faff around too much and doesn't annoy the neighbours, the other half, make the dog howl, etc. There's mileage in these things, aren't there? It looks like a bit of fun, a bit of a toy thing to me, but if it gets people playing, 90 quid, go for it.
So my friends at Fluid Audio, I'm
Uh-huh.
going to gave me this several years ago, and this is how much I think of it. I haven't even opened the box.
Strum buddy.
It's basically.
I'll get my mind out of the gutter, but the picture on the front and the name.
It's a guitar speaker that sticks to your guitar.
Interesting. Okay.
I've never even taken it out of the box. How terrible is that? That I'm such a bad person.
It's designed for an electric guitar.
It's a 6-watt amplifier with a 40mm neodymium magnet speaker, 3.5 hours on one charge, DSP guitar effects, distortion, chorus, and reverb.
Wowzers.
And they've sold a gazillion of them.
Have they?
Yeah.
So it does do a thing.
Mm.
Interesting. You've got an electroacoustic down there, haven't you? I will speak to my pal who has the Tonewood acoustic guitar effects unit, which you physically attach. There's a cross piece inside the body that's got magnets on it, and then on the back there's a little box about yay big. For context, ladies and gentlemen, it's probably about that deep,
right?
To a phone. And your acoustic guitar then has reverbs, vibratos, delays.
I've seen the thing. I've never used it.
There was one in the auction, actually.
The
last auction from Garner Holgate. Makes a really intriguing noise. As much as anything else, it's just the novelty of I'm sat here playing an acoustic instrument, but it sounds like really strange. I think that little box that you've got there, plus that Tonewood together, that might make for an interesting things that you can attach to an instrument that make it sound different.
But you probably shouldn't.
Well,
yeah. So there's a YouTube video put out by Gibson, and Paul, I won't say what he said, but apparently it took him quite a while to get cleaned up.
Wowzers.
For those of you with more money than sense, or dentists as they're known,
well, yeah, it's got to have the wrong head stuff, isn't it?
The Kurt Hammett Greenie for I think we worked out it's about $20,000.
Just bananas, isn't it? Wowzers.
But what was hilarious is that the sales pitch was all about inspiration, and I'm like, am I missing something here? 20 grand's up a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, I suspect you're going to have been inspired in some way, shape, or form a long time before you pick one of these things up in order to have generated the funds through your inspiration to get this inspiration machine. Wowzers.
I would give body parts for that guitar because that's beautiful. And I know Paul would, and that's just a thing of absolute freaking beauty.
It is a delight, isn't it? I would be very interested because I didn't even watch the whole thing. I find God bless Kirk.
I got 5 minutes into how much inspiration and how much people who've touched this guitar, yada 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 BS, and I was like, oh come on, play the thing.
Does it say anywhere in that video who has designed the pickups? I would be very interested to know in an A/B test against the original if the Gibson ones are anywhere near as good as the Monty's. What bit of London was it called? Bethnal Greens. The Bethnal Green pickup set that he did. Because Monty, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the jewels of the UK crown in terms of clever things that chap can do in and around the guitar industry. I would be happy to put a few quid on the fact that his would sound better than the Gibby ones. But hey, maybe I'm just being a bit too sentimental there.
I think this would be a beautiful guitar. It's just it's I mean, clearly the Murphy Lab stuff has got hours and hours and hours of work in it, which
Yeah.
is why it carries the price tag it does.
Mm.
But there's an awful lot of around this particular guitar.
Absolutely. I would point people who are interested in this particular guitar to 8 Bomb Custom on YouTube. He's a Russian chap. I think he's Russian. Apologies if it's a state that was formerly part of Russia. He also makes copies of famous old guitars, including the Greenie, and has put an awful lot of footage on YouTube of the processes which he follows in order to age them. If you've ever been interested in what it is that the Murphy Lab people do, this would be of a similar vein. You might find that interesting. He's quite an interesting chap. Worth a look.
So, when I posted the titles and the kind of what we're going to talk about for this for today's session, I wasn't fully informed about how this had gone down. So, our friends at Waves, and I say that because we are part of the Waves affiliate program. Hands up if you watch one of our Waves videos, and there are a few out there, and you buy the plugin. Thanks to a Waves affiliate link, we make about 13 pence.
Whoa!
Woohoo.
Where are you going to start spending that kind of money?
Well, you know, so Waves are are jumping on what's referred to as the subscription model.
Okay.
Meaning that, you know, instead of buying plugins or buying software, you subscribe to a monthly fee forevermore. Now, there's two things here. First of all, you never bought the software. You bought a license to run the software.
There you go.
But all they're now doing is saying, look, instead of having a Waves upgrade plan or a WUP as it was, and buying the software on a perpetual license, meaning that you own the license to run it forever.
Yeah.
They're going to force you to go down the subscription route. Many plugin and DAW brands and other software brands have done it. The first one to do it was Adobe.
Right.
And nobody screamed blue murder at them. Avid did it. Everyone hated it. Since then, Slate, Plugin Alliance, a great many. I'm just looking down my list of plugin brands and manufacturers who are doing it.
Yeah.
And it is a perfectly legitimate business model. However, you need to get your messaging right, and you need to have your ducks in a row when it comes to keeping your existing user base happy.
Yeah.
Waves just went, with this incredible piece of news that from now on you can't buy plugins. You are going to have to buy into our subscription model, and if you already own them, we might give you a couple of months off the subscription. Now, I'm a plugin user. I was thinking, right, I won't upgrade for a while. It didn't bother me. However, as the internet does, it lit up. Hence why a friend of mine said, I'm buying shares in Popcorn, because he sat back and enjoyed the news. 2 days later, the team at Waves are obviously going, back pedal. How do we damage limitation this exercise? Guess what? They're saying, oh, you can. Oh, we made a mistake. And to be fair, they've held their hands up and said, they haven't said the words, we made a mistake. They've said their messaging might not have been quite on point. However, after consultation with our user base in 48 hours, we've decided we're going to keep the WUP and we're going to keep the perpetual license buying thing. Now, for any of you who have bought plugins or anything like that from Waves, you'll know that they started the race to the bottom.
Right.
By that, I mean plugins that were once 150, 200 bucks, you can now pick up on a Waves deal for 25 bucks.
Okay. Yeah.
It's now about getting the numbers out there. And you wonder you have to wonder whether the plan was to get a gazillion plugins out there dirt cheap and then hit people for the upgrades as part of this subscription model.
Yeah.
Now, that is purely speculation on my part, and in no way, shape, or form legally binding. But you do have to wonder what in the name of what was going on at Waves HQ when they went, let's not really think about what our existing user base is going to do. Let's just tell them everyone's going to have to do it and see what happens.
Just give it a whirl, see what occurs.
Yeah. And it occurred big time. So I love the guys at Waves. I'd say I know many of them from my time as production expert. I know some of the guys who make their content. Great plugins, great people. The messaging was not necessarily on point, and I think they made the right choice in going, okay, you can still, as far as I know, you'll still be able to do the subscription thing if you want to, or you can buy the plugins and do your WUP thing. And eventually, what of course they'll do is they'll take more and more plugins off the perpetual and push it onto the subscription and do it over time, rather than just try and bombard their way in. Yeah,
that's it. Whilst it's in my mind, and I'm sorry I'm jumping around, I can't remember the name of the person who was asking about delay reverb pedals. Polly Bebo, have a look at that. It's got a quirky user interface, but it's made its way onto a few different pro boards. It's got all manner of other gubbins inside it as well, but it's certainly got the capacity to do lots of delays, lots of reverbs, and it's very much MIDI enabled.
Cool. Next one.
By the time
I paid to see Phil Hilborn play with Chaz and Dave. I mean,
fair enough.
Chaz and Dave and Phil would be a great, and he lives only up the road.
Oh, nice. My internet connection prevented me getting onto the Royal Albert Hall site fast enough to get a ticket.
Royal Albert Hall?
Royal Albert Hall, Rower. That big old concert has come and gone in no time. Surprise, surprise, given the names that have said they're going to play that. However, if you are in the UK and you are available on any one of those dates below, there's another date ever so slightly lower. On Friday the 7th, they're going to be in Chelmsford as well. There is a good amount of talent online there, on show there, rather, I should say. James has already mentioned Phil Hilborn, who I'm sure a multitude of you will know from all manner of different publications, instructional publications. If you don't already...
of course, he's the Brian May, or he was the Brian May on We Will Rock You.
Yeah. He did a stint, didn't he? If you don't already, follow his Instagram, seek him out on Instagram, and just try and keep your jaw off the floor, easy for him to say, as he and his son shred together. And his little lad is an absolute monster of a player already, just like his old man. Looks like they're having the time of their lives. Who else have we got on there? Scott McKeon, in and amongst the Tom Jones guitarist. Not a bad gig. Who else have we got?
I went down with Tom Jones syndrome once.
It's not unusual.
So I said to the doctor, is it common? He said it's not unusual.
There we go. In Paul's absence, I shall roll my eyes. You can't see him on there, but is it Jack from Peach Guitars, or soon to be formerly of Peach Guitars, is also going to turn up to some of these shows? And Dudley Ross is the chap who's put this together, whose pedigree is not insignificant himself. He's been on stage with some bloke called Clapton, Eric Clapton.
Clapton, okay, yeah.
I don't know, but that seemed to be a bit of a big deal. He's also one of those people in the scene who does a lot of stuff behind the scenes and keeps things moving. So he has arranged tours for the likes of Ariel Posen in the not too distant past of late around the UK. Thoroughly nice chap, monster player, absolute hulk of a guy as well. Works out. He's a geezer, and he, amongst others, has put this hellish good lineup together. If you can get yourselves to any of these shows, I guarantee, I'm more than happy to guarantee that you will hear some wondrous, wondrous music, great performances, and some epic guitar sounds. Dudley's worth a Ross as well, worth a follow on Insta, because he's got some tasty gear in and amongst his arsenal too. Nice. And speaking of gear, wouldn't you just know it? Another clone.
A clone. Yeah. I can't say clone without thinking of it in some kind of Scandi language now. Clone.
There's a Scandi vocalist going to be performing at some of those Jeff Beck gig nights as well, coincidentally. Yes, a clone couture clone. This one is basically all of them. So you can see the bottom right knob there is all manner of different clipping types. So every different clipping diode that has been used in various different couture remakes, variations on a theme, is available within this. So in the style of when JHS do every rat under the sun, every tube screamer under the sun, this is allegedly every clone under the sun, with a separate boost switch as well. And some sort of direct to desk option, a DI out. Paul, sadly, not with us this evening, being our resident clone expert, I would be interested to hear his thoughts on this. 350 quid still seems quite punchy for essentially a mild overdrive, or the way that most people seem to use it, a mild overdrive.
Yeah.
But if you've got a clone itch that you've never scratched before, perhaps this is the way forward. Every different flavour under the sun in one unit with a few other tricks up its sleeve as well. Might be interesting.
Nice.
We are.
We're done.
We're there.
Hurrah. Right, let's get on and get on, get in and get out, as they say. We've got a few to get through, so let's do that thing.
Funky bass, not quite vibrato, but there's a bonkers bend Eric Clapton did on the solo to Bad Love. If you remember the song, you'll know what I mean. I do indeed.
I was. It's almost the opening note of the solo after the. Ding 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 ding. It's like, what the hell? Clapton's vibrato is great as well. He's another one who almost lets go.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Lovely.
My favourite Clapton album as well, Journeyman.
It's a good one, isn't it? Martin's banging the drum for Yngwie. What guitar has Martin got there?
That is looks like an SRV. It's not an SRV, but it looks like it.
Nice. Let us know, Martin, if you're still on, mate. Be interested to hear. Johnny, good evening to you. Yeah, good shout, Funky.
Right. So
I have a tentative plan. Good stuff, Michael. Well done.
Michael, drop me a line because we should get together. There's stuff I want to talk to you about and to catch up. And quite frankly, brother, I want to talk drums to somebody else.
Yeah, you get short shrift with Paul and I, don't you? Bless you. No bothers, drum bass, connections back. Northampton. I might be nipping to Northampton. There's an Ox box on Thebe that is going for a song.
Ooh, nice.
Might see you there.
Apparently
Johnny,
we're back, which is good.
Minutes, okay. No bother, HK. Let us know how you get on. Small MIDI board, right? With MIDI drives. What MIDI drives? I'm interested.
MIDI drive would be
Riverside.
The Nova drive, the TC Nova drive.
Did the original do it, or did it need to be modded to get MIDI'd?
I thought the original did it.
I thought it needed a mod, but I've never had my hands on one of them. Other MIDI drives. I know Strymon do a couple. There's a red one and a goldy one, I think.
You don't say what's the the Nova drive, definitely, because because the G system did not have drive in it. So you needed to have something that was MIDIable to drive into. So the Nova drive was what everyone put in front of a G system.
So did the G system change the patches of the Nova drive?
Yes. And that's what the guys who back a little while ago who were doing the Brit Floyd show, they were using G systems, but they were using Nova drives as their drives and
Really?
various other things. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Right.
Hang on. Boom. There we go.
Pet, I sent a super chat to TPS just to show off a proud son's drawing of Johnny Marr that my old man did. Caricature of Jiving Drew coming soon. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it is a lovely picture as well of Mr. Marr, isn't it? Delightful stuff. Mike, 20k of art, wall hanger. Yes. UAD.
Yeah. We're all on the same page on that one, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Funky. Maybe I'm weird, but I like the idea of paying less for a vintage old stock guitar and then messing it up myself. There are so many cool ways to mod guitars these days. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So interesting one. This is where the Brits and the Septics, sorry, the Americans,
keep talking.
Differ. So in the Americas, there is a massive car customizing culture. Massive. And while there is one here, it's nothing like as huge as it is in that America.
No.
Whereas over here, we're quite happy to get, drills and routers and stuff on our guitars and really go to town on them. Whereas, and of course, I'm not speaking solely for the Studio Rats brethren, because I know various people on here are quite happy to get down and dirty with their guitars. But generally, there is a definite away from putting tools to instrument and going, unless you're Silvio Massi, of course, and that's another story.
Which is exactly what I did with this. This
has still got 11s on it.
This has got 19 to 65s on it. Open C.
Right. What on earth is that in the headstock?
That is a lens cleaner. Oh. And it's there purely because it stops a ring on one of the strings.
Right. I wasn't quite sure what it looked like to start with.
Nice. Nothing untoward. This used to be an Encore S-shaped instrument, and it used to be that colour.
Ah.
Get it right to the light.
Yeah.
And it was layered on thick as billio. And I literally took a grinder to it.
Did you get the nitromals out first?
Everything came out. So it was literally body, neck, all the electrics thrown in a box. And I sanded it down with machine initially, and then various different grades of sandpaper. And then the knobs are original. These are replacements. A pre-hooked up harness inside off the eBay. And then I've just aged the scratch plate as well. But this finished, I mean, you can see the reason why 25, probably more than that, 30 years ago, Encore were able to do relatively cost-effective instruments. Look how cream crackered the wood is. It's all the offcuts of nasty old stuff that nobody else would take. Look at the state.
All it actually needs, though, in the low cut, is an infill, and it would look like an N4.
Of course, yeah, do, wouldn't it? And you know, there was definitely a nod of the hat to that. But I finished it in that same stuff that Paul's been putting on his neck. This has been Monty Pressoed. Right. So it was a much lighter look to the wood.
Do you mean perchance?
Yes, you've got some over your left shoulder, haven't you?
Do you mean perchance Monty Presso?
Exactly that. So I did the neck with it. I did the body with it. I did the back of the neck as well, and gave that a bit.
Having played that guitar briefly, it feels all right as well.
It's all right. It does still need a bit more tweaking. It's an ongoing project, but compared to the frankly horrible red finish that the original Encore was, I think aesthetically, if nothing else, it looks substantially more easy on the eye. Yeah, so vintage old and messing around with it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lots of sandpaper attached to all your upper body. Crikey. Is that something particular? Den Skill Music. Good evening to you. Hope all is well, folks. Yes, and the same to you, mate. Late to the party. Toronto. Spelt
Yeah.
with one T,
With
obviously.
one T, obviously. Yes, Toronto.
Marvs, what time is it in Toronto?
It's there behind us. It's going to be about
8 hours behind, is it? 10 hours?
probably 8 to 10. No, maybe not quite as much actually, because they're East Coast, aren't they? So they're sort of New Yorky sort of time-ish. So
Right.
yeah,
6 in a bit, maybe.
never been, but had many invites when I was on ships.
Right.
I can't say any more than that
I was
because I'm
going to
married.
say, yes, I've heard
I'm
some of
married
these tales. Let's move on. Family
Yeah.
show. I'm past the watershed yet, is it? Mike, my thoughts on J-Rocket. Worthless. Interesting. Only one setting. LED changes the sound.
We've got a video coming out of 3 new pedals coming soon from a particular brand, and do you know what? I was well impressed.
Right.
It'll be out soon, but really, really good selection of noises from a really, really good selection of pedals. Not to say any more than that because I'll get in trouble, and Paul will probably be going, "No, don't say anything."
I'm interested, Mike. Your one setting, is it the LED that changes the sound? Because LED is one of the things that's in that J-Rocket.
Yes. Yeah.
And having downloaded the manual, they are quite particular about saying you must turn up the gain. If it's less than about 9 o'clock, you're just not getting the benefit, which is the big thing about clons. Everybody uses it as a mild boost. And as Joshua Heath Scott will tell you, doesn't tend to use the magical chip that people lose thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars for, unless you actually give it some beans. Anyway, onwards.
I could watch his videos all day. I mean, the one about the bad monkey was a bit strange with the monkey and the banana and stuff. But half of his going
in the world, in my mind. I might be speaking out of turn, but I think his heart is absolutely in the right place, and he, in a variety of different ways, runs the pedal world, and I think he does a wonderful job doing it as well.
Sorry.
I'm getting messages from Mr. Drew.
No, I'm getting eBay messages, and I'm like, would you ship this to? No.
The answer is no.
Sorry. No. I'm not shipping it to the other side of the world in no cardboard box because I don't have a cardboard box for it. Anyway, moving on.
Michael's back. Hi there, back. Went for a new self-made Univibe. Ooh, nice.
Well, we know that those self-made Univibe type things are doable because the what they call Thingy Dog, Fuzz Dog, the Univibe that I built is amazing.
Nice bit of kit, isn't it? Yeah, that's based on an Earthquaker pedal, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I can't remember what it was because I can't, but it is. It's a great pedal.
When you say self-made Univibe, what? Oh, here we go. Combinations with chorus, phaser, and flanger. You have preempted my question, Michael. Good man. Yeah, this is the joy of it, isn't it? You've got all of those things in that one little box. You can come up with all manner of different variations on a theme. And I think that, to my mind anyways, and I'm certainly not the first person to have come up with this theory, is one of the delights of those bits of kit is that you've got everything at your fingertips as a gateway to what do I like. Spend however many £100 on a multi-effects unit that does a bit of this, that, and the other. Work out what stuff floats your boat, and then go deeper down the rabbit hole. Find some really nice niche bits of kit, and I would bet pound to a pinch, most people that try the real thing would be happier with the real thing than the initial electronics, but it would have served its purpose, to my mind. Anyway. What about you, Guy? You think you want OD for blues, but end up using DS? Yeah, fair enough. You think your favourite modulation is flanger, but it turns out to be subtle phasing. Subtle phasing is my favourite modulation. Well, a really, really slow Univibe. And I found that out in a very similar way by using the Digitech Expression Factory. which has got a variety of different sounds in it, not least the Univibe, which I pretty much entirely or non-stop used as my clean sound for a couple of years, actually. Just a really slow pulse of Univibe. And in hindsight, or in latter years, having been exposed to harmonic trem, I think that is ultimately the sound that kind of appealed to me.
The pedal that I like that ticks all those boxes, and it was never a huge seller, and I'm going back to TC again, is the Dreamscape, the John Petrucci signature, because it's vibe, chorus, and flange in one pedal. It's
And you
awesome.
did a video on that, didn't you?
We did donkeys ago, and it's brilliant. It's one of those. I've got the sound out of it that I really like, but now I've got the TC Gold GS chorusy thing. I can now use the
chorus flanger.
Yeah, I can now use the Petrucci a bit more extreme,
right?
Because I've got the chorus, and of course, as I've been recording with today, hence the I wanted a super bright sound. I've been recording with the jazz chorus, the JC77.
Right. There is another modulation video coming from the Studio Rat soon as well, with the, what's he called? Is it Jackson Audio? The new wave pedal.
I haven't done it yet. It's still here. We have it. We next time Paul's this way, we've got a load of pedals to do as well. That thing's amazing.
Yep. The Leteri demo of it. Yeah. Plus, you know, if he's been consulting and he's prepared to put his name somewhere near it, it's ticking a lot of boxes, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
There we are. Pet, how's it going, lads? I'll subscribe. Good on you. Bless you, Pet Moxie. You could be in the first 10 subscribers that I've got. Got pedals. Favorite is a Rat. Yep. And a Boss RE20 Space Echo. Yeah, fair play.
Good shout.
What can't you do with that Space Echo? There is a lot. That would be an interesting video that I'd certainly watch, geek that I am, is the Studio Rats do things with pedals that you wouldn't expect. Just using a Space Echo, how many different sounds can you get?
I've got one of the new tape-based Echoes coming, as in the reissue ones. They're quite expensive, hence they're not really letting me do it just for the fun of it. But yeah, I've got one coming. We're there. We got there. We survived.
Excellent. Where are we?
Believe it or not, we survived.
Before 10 o'clock, which is even better.
Yeah. Ahead of the game, which is nice. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'd like to thank my brother in arms on the other side of the county lines, Mr. Greg Farrer, aka Larry North, whichever way around it works. I'm not sure which.
That's for jazz.
Yeah, for joining me.
Henceforth, this
Adventures in Gearland will be yet another event, another place you need to be that will be generating lots of lovely content for you. So thanks, buddy. I'll see you next week. We will sit. Paul will be back next Wednesday for more of this stuff, and he can tell us exactly how wonderful his birthday was, moving house on his birthday. That's dedication for you, boys and girls. But for now, from myself and from my colleague, it's good night. Have a great week, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you on the other side.
Get well soon, Dave. Hope the finger's all right.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.